So let's talk about how to get our ArcGIS Pro layers. So these different data layers that we've got over here in our table of contents. How do we get them out to Photoshop where we can start to manipulate them and do all the kinds of graphics things that we're used to doing with Photoshop layers? And ArcGIS continues to work on their environment. They continue to work on this, but at the end of the day, Photoshop is the industry leader in manipulating, modifying, enhancing graphics, right? Illustrator for vector files also, is something that often comes into this as well. There's really two approaches to getting these data layers across, though. There's been a kind of a long history between Adobe and ArcGIS. They did not work well together. They did not have a partnership, and so really there was no pathway through, which is where the simple option I'm going to show you now came from. In the next video, I'm actually going to show you how to use the new extension that they've created that costs about $500 a year to allow the two software environments to speak to one another. But let's go ahead and get started on this. We've got our entire map. You see 6 layers of information because I turned back on the world hillshade and the world topo map. So how do we get this information out to Adobe? Well, the easy answer is we come up on the top, we click on the share button. We're going to click export layout. It's going to pop up this menu over here. You want to go ahead and tell it either you can kick these out as JPEGs, PDFs, TIFFs, whatever you want. We're going to create, turn these into static data layer. These data layers are going to turn into static graphics that can be turned into Adobe Photoshop layers. Right? Go ahead and tell it where you want it to save. I tend to go ahead and approach the process this way. If I were to just send all 6 of these layers as you see it right now into Photoshop, I can't individually edit the layers. That doesn't work for us. So what I do instead is that I go ahead and just turn off all of the layers except for one. I come over and I label this as NYC tree buffer 01, and then I kick it out to the project folder. And realistically, 150 DPI is all you need. You click export and away you go. What you're going to do after that is you're going to come back in and you're going to turn that layer off. You're going to turn the next layer on. You're going to export that and repeat and repeat and repeat. Let's go ahead and jump over to Photoshop, because what I did in Photoshop was that I went ahead and just opened all of these up, and I can just show you real quick what that looks like. And so I opened all of these up, and what you're going to see is that each one comes in. Because we exported a layout, they're all at the same scale. The page size is the same. Nothing shifts. All I have to do is hit Control A, Control C, and then I come over here and hit Control V, and you'll see that drops in as well. I actually already have that in here. What you're trying to do then is just go ahead and put all of your layers together into one environment, and you see hillshade, my street map, the boundary for Central Park, the buffer layer that we used, the street grid that we clipped down, and then also the tree layer, right? So at this point in time, you can basically do anything that you're comfortable with in the ArcGIS or in the Photoshop environment. One thing that I would like to point out that can be really useful, the easy version of this, and I actually already have it turned on here, is that if I have my whole layer turned on like this, certainly there's one thing that you can do. One thing you can do to go ahead and just clean all of this up is that, for me, I actually go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And what that would allow me to do is that when I invert my selection, I can go ahead and just delete the, I can go through and just kind of delete off the title bar information, the redundancy that's in each one of these layers, right? And I'm going to leave the bottom one with that information on because I'll want the scale bar. I'll probably reuse the north arrow. I mean, again, you can change those out. You can do it however you want. But once I've done that, and again, I'm going to go ahead and turn off everything here except for this. One of the other options that jumps out here is that, again, I can use Magic Wand and just get the symbol, right? But I still can't see through it. This is just where these layer transition types, layer modification types come in. I use linear burn a lot because it actually goes through and kind of pops out all of that information. I can do the same thing. I will tell you that I rarely use this street view layer just because this doesn't look great to me. Now there's some features on here that I do like, and so I might come in and do something where like I like all of the water features that this has, and so I might come in and just steal that layer of information, and you know, since I don't need it to show through, I can go ahead and just pull it up to the top, and now I've got all my water basically relatively fast and kind of dropped in. The other reason that I export it though is that I'll go in and actually add my own layers, or labels I mean, but certainly this is an opportunity to go ahead and, you know, right here it tells you that this is West 81st Street if I want to label some of the streets, or, you know, realistically just come in and drop in my Central Park label. At least, you know, spelling and everything is sitting here for me, and then I can go ahead and modify from there. But basically that's it. And so you could go ahead and turn on and off these different layers, and away we go. Don't forget, before you're done, to go ahead and save this out. And it's always worth saving out as a PSD file. And so for me, I just go ahead and create a combined file, and as a Photoshop file, saves all my layers, and away we go. All right, that's it for this. That's the simple approach for getting ArcGIS Pro data layers into Adobe Photoshop.